Welcome to a special Autism Awareness edition of Northeast Journal. I'm your host, Joe Cullen. April is National Autism Awareness Month. Over the next half hour, we're devoting our entire show to autism. We'll learn about a variety of services that are helping individuals with autism, everything from service dogs to theatrical productions to sports. All that and more is straight ahead on this special edition of Northeast Journal. Hello everyone and welcome to this special Autism Awareness edition of Northeast Journal. I'm your host, Joe Cullen. Every month on Northeast Journal, we give you an inside look at the people and places that make up the Northeast section of the Twin Cities. Since April is National Autism Awareness Month, we're devoting this month's entire show to autism. In just a little bit, we'll go into detail about what exactly autism is. But first, here's an area family that recently received a service dog to help with their son's autism. At first glance, Jonathan Prenovo looks like your typical 7-year-old boy. He loves movies and spending time creating Lego masterpieces. Learning and socializing don't come as easy to Jonathan as other 7-year-olds, though, as he is on the autism spectrum. His parents, Pia and Dan, have tried many therapies to help him succeed, and they recently added a new member to the family to help him even more. This new addition is Duncan, an assistance dog that the Prenovos received from Can Do Canines. Pia tells us what it was like when Duncan first arrived at their home in February.
Jonathan was very excited to have a dog and really had a lot of pride in the idea that this was his dog, and he got to do stuff for the dog. And I don't know, that pride might be wearing off a little bit now. He has to do chores, but it's been a really good experience.
Assistance dogs from other organizations can typically cost up to $25,000, but Can Do Canines provides their dogs for free.
I just kept wondering where the fine print was. You know, it's like, wait a minute, they're going to give us a dog that they've invested all this time and money into, and they don't want anything in return. So, and that's exactly what it is. You know, we would never be able to afford an assist dog for Jonathan.
Can Do Canines, located in New Hope, trains close to 40 dogs a year that are placed in homes to help people with diabetes, seizures, mobility and hearing issues, and autism.
We train these dogs to keep the child safe every time they're in public. These kids don't have a natural fear, and they'll run into traffic or run into other dangerous situations. So anytime they get away from mom and dad, they're in danger of being hurt or killed. And what we do is we tether the child and the dog together so that if the child gets away and runs, the dog will lay down and not allow that child to go into dangerous situations. It can never be any further than 6 feet apart from the child and the dog. And the parent then can get control of the situation and calm the child and get back to normal business.
Executive Director Alan Peters started Can Do Canines 25 years ago. They survive entirely on donations so that they can give their assistance dogs to those who need them for free. It can take nearly 2 years to train an assistance dog with the help of volunteers. Peters has seen many individuals with autism benefit greatly from assistance dogs, not only with safety issues, but also socially.
People who would never have talked to these kids before now walk up to the kids and say, "What's your dog's name? How old is your dog? Can I shake his paw?" Those kinds of things. And before you know it, the children who don't normally communicate very well are now starting to talk to these strangers. And that's a great experience for mom and dad to see their child interacting with others.
Jonathan is a good-natured child who is very intelligent. His parents think Duncan will help him to relate even more with other people.
When they evaluated us, what they found was they wanted a dog with some more energy, because Jonathan's a pretty low-key, hard to bring out of his shell kind of kid. And so they gave us, Duncan, who has, doesn't get riled with other children, is very easygoing in that respect, but also has some energy and is kind of bringing Jonathan out of his shell.
It can take quite a few years to get a dog after being on a waiting list, but for the Prenovo family, the wait has been worth it.
Our goals with having an assistance dog is to have someone who can help keep Jonathan safe, who can be help bring him socially out of his shell, to help teach Jonathan what it is to have responsibility, and then to also have a dog that we know can help manage the upsets that come with Jonathan, because at times he has upsets, and not every animal would necessarily be able to handle that, but you know, these dogs have been trained to really deal with those things.
Duncan will play many roles in Jonathan's life in the years to come, but it looks like the most important one is being a great friend.
Overall, he's kind of a constant in Jonathan's life where, you know, like his teachers and friends and everything have expectations, either socially or academically, and Duncan has no expectations at all. He's just there. And he's always a friend to him and always has a big wet tongue for him.
If you're interested in learning more about Can Do Canines, visit their website at can-do-canines.org. You can donate money at their website and also learn about volunteer opportunities, including fostering a dog until they are fully trained. Service dogs aren't just used in the home. Here's a look at a dog that helps kids at a therapy clinic in Maplewood. The smallest therapist at the Functional Kids Clinic in Maplewood is also likely the most popular. Ella is a therapy dog who accompanies her owner, occupational therapist Chris Worrell, 3 days a week at the clinic.
I started taking her to dog training classes and to help her get confident, actually to increase her confidence. And we just kept going. And then I realized that there was a class about being a therapy dog, and lo and behold, I mean, it's a 12-hour class, and you took a test, and then she could officially be a therapy dog, and she could come to work with me, and that just seemed like marvelous idea.
When Ella is at Functional Kids, she sits in on Worrell's sessions with her clients. Even if Ella isn't directly involved in the therapy all the time, Worrell believes she still helps the kids.
But being an animal, she's much closer to nature, so she is just generally calm. Even just if she's laying in the corner of the room, curled up on her bed, which happens for half the time in a session, just her presence here is calming for the kids.
Worrell tells us about some of the activities Ella does with the kids during a therapy session.
Putting themselves in her shoes piece, we work a lot on that, especially with the kids on the autism spectrum, or even with a lot of ADHD. They don't tend to slow down and think and put themselves in somebody else's shoes. So we'll say, well, they'll say she can climb something huge, and it's like, well, okay, let's look at how long her legs are, So there's just a ton of different ways that she's interacted with the kids.
Ella keeps a busy schedule with 3 10-hour days a week at Functional Kids.
Some days she gets a little tired. She stands at the top of the steps like, really? Do I have to come down? And I have to encourage her. But other days she's just boom, 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 down there and right behind me, right on my heels.
In between appointments, Ella has been known to even take some time to wander around the waiting room, providing therapy not just for the kids, but for parents as well. The Autism Society of Minnesota is a nonprofit organization committed to education, advocacy, and support designed to enhance the lives of those affected by autism from birth through retirement. With me today is their executive director, Jonah Weinberg. Jonah, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on Northeast Journal.
Thank you for having us. I am real glad to be here.
Great. First off, people watching, we've been talking a bit about autism already in this program, but I think even though you hear about it more in the news, some people are still confused by exactly what autism is. What kind of definition would you give to describe it to people?
Well, at its core, autism is a communication disorder, and it's usually evident by about age 2, whether a child is exhibiting traits that are consistent with autism. There's no one test you can take and just say, it's autism. So it's a lot of different things that come together that often impact a child's ability to speak, maybe make eye contact, and they tend to struggle a lot in social situations. Things that we might assume that a child would pick up naturally, a child with autism may not get it so naturally. It might just not come from watching others. And they often need more direct instruction in everything from just how to say hello to somebody to more nuanced things like how to pick up on social cues.
Well, and as people may have heard, it's called a spectrum disorder, which spectrum means there's this wide range, everything from maybe very mild to severe. And no two children are alike. when they're on the
Absolutely.
spectrum.
Now, one of the things that people would note is there are those individuals who are on that more severe side of the spectrum where they can't care for themselves on their own. They will never be able to live independently. On the other hand, we have individuals who go on to get their doctorates and be rocket scientists and university professors, and everything that comes in between. So it's really hard to pigeonhole autism as this is what it looks like, because there is no one answer. One of the more common things people say is if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism.
Definitely. Now, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, you're the executive director of the Autism Society of Minnesota. What exactly is the Autism Society of Minnesota? What kind of things do you guys do?
Sure. Well, we were founded in 1971, and at the time it was largely what we call a kitchen table organization, and a group of moms, mostly moms, who came together and were frustrated by the lack of services and resources in the community, with the focus on what was available through the schools. And they really put together an organization that at the time, and still much today, was focused on the education piece. It's very hard for parents to get the information they need to support their children. Over the years, we expanded our programs. We have one of the world's first. We have one of the nation's first camps for kids with autism, summer camp programs. We have a couple of different versions of that. One has a 1-to-1 camper-counselor ratio. Another has a 4-to-1 camper-counselor ratio. We also do a lot of education for educators so that they can understand how to serve this group, as well as for law enforcement and emergency responders, for businesses to understand how to hire and maintain individuals in their workforce who have autism. And we also run some support groups. We have a small mental health practice for people who need therapies. And we do advocacy at the state, local, and federal level.
Now, one of the things that struck me, I know quite a bit about your organization already, but even if somebody would just go on your website, it seems like a lot of, autism organizations kind of cater to, the kids, the young kids. But here, seeing that you have so many things you offer, as I said in the introduction, from birth to retirement, for adolescents, for adults. So it's kind of interesting that, you're not just serving people and then once they're, in high school, they're done. It seems like you really care for them throughout their whole lives.
That's been a real focus of ours for about the last 4 years. As I said, when we started out, the focus was kids. And back when we started in 1971, almost 45 years ago, people didn't really think about what came next because the kids were thought to be disabled and they'd probably be living at home or in a facility for the rest of their lives. We now know that with the better understanding of the spectrum, many of them can go on to work and live independently. And about 4 years ago, we really added a stronger focus on that because not a lot of organizations do take that into consideration. And in our role, we really wanted to make sure that we could help connect people to resources. We don't do a lot of the therapies for young kids that other organizations might. We focus on that education piece and then really referring families to those resources in the community where they can get the services they need. So our role is often as a connector, and we don't try to do it all. We could never do it all well, and that's why we try to focus on who does do it well, and let's refer people there so that they can get what they need in their hometown.
Well, I've seen that before. You have, really nice resource guides on your website. I myself have a young child with autism, and I know especially in our early days, just to even be able to Google, Minnesota autism, that was probably one of the first things that came up.
We're lucky to be the number one result on when you do a Google search. So we do still come up there, and we get calls from all over the state, from down by the border with Iowa to up here in the Twin Cities. No matter where people live, we get calls about it, and it's really important that we have those resources, or at least access to those resources, and can make those referrals. And it can be really tough for people who live in those more rural areas because the resources aren't there. They're going to have to drive a distance to find them, but we still want to make sure we know what's closest to them and that we can give them that access.
And, like I said, it's a wide range of resources. I mean, there's naturally, things about therapy centers and things like that, but I mean, you might even, where can I find a dentist for my kid, or like you said, different activities they can be involved in. There's
Precisely.
Such a wide range of things.
And it varies so much depending on the resources of the town they live in. For some people who live in the Twin Cities, their local town will have a recreational program through the park district or whatever it is, and they have adaptive recreation. And that means that a kid with autism may be able to find a program that they can have a lot of fun in. If they live in a more rural area, that might not be the case. And so we might try to help connect families in those areas that live out there so that they can work together on a solution and finding out how to do that. The resources are limited wherever we go, and so oftentimes it's helping just connect people to each other, people who have similar interests. And the calls we get, sure, they're for the therapy programs. We also get calls about where can I teach my kid to learn to ride a bike? Or we got a question earlier in the fall about, is there an autism-friendly hunting club? And I don't think we found one, but those are the great questions, and we have it on our list now. If something comes up, we'd love to know about it so we can make those referrals.
Well, it seems like, things are being added all the time. I was just talking with you before this interview, there are quite a few movie theaters now that do sensory-friendly showings. We've taken my son to a lot of those, and then you were telling me about now even parents who maybe are going to have to travel, going to have to fly with their kids, are nervous about it. Now there's programs where you can kind of, practice before you even go.
Right. We're fortunate to have a great partnership with MAC, which is the Metropolitan Airport Commission, I believe it is. They run the Minneapolis airport, and once a month, on the first Saturday of the month, we have a program where families can take their child with autism and their kids that don't have autism, and do sort of a dry run and go through and experience what's it like to queue up in security, go through that, go to the gate, and they actually get to board a plane and experience what that's like. Now, the plane doesn't take off, but this is so important for these families because for kids on the autism spectrum, new experiences can be really scary to a level that you and I might not be able to relate to. So if we can give them a dry run where the pressure is low, they're able to see it, experience it, when it's time to actually take that trip to Disney World or wherever it happens to be, they're a lot calmer, they know what to expect, and the family has a much better time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one thing, to maybe show them pictures or do kind of a, outline before you go, but to actually see it in person. And like you said, there's so many steps to it, before you even actually get on the plane, but
right.
to just have some idea what to expect. I'm sure it decreases everybody's stress before they would leave.
And one really great thing the airport has done is they've created a little social story, a pictorial story that shows each step of going to the airport that the child can review in advance and kind of know what it all is. And they're far less likely to experience that anxiety. And if they don't have the anxiety, they're less likely to have sort of a little emotional meltdown. If they don't have the meltdown, the parents are going to have an easier time. The other passengers or travelers are going to have a better time. The air crew is going to have a better time. So everyone wins in these situations.
Yeah. Now I understand kind of one of your big events during the year to raise money is the Steps of Hope Walk, which just took place a few weeks ago. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. This was, I believe, the 14th year of our Steps of Hope Walk. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year. And it's really about getting families out. We do it at Ridgedale Mall, and it's before the mall opens, so it's a little less crowded. But we had over 60 resource tables there of different organizations that serve the autism community, sell products, books, services, and just community resources. And families have the opportunity to go there, view all of these things, meet other families, kids of similar age, and just have a really good time. We look forward to it every year, and it takes months to put together, and we're already starting to think about next year.
Great. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but quickly before we go, if people are interested in helping the Autism Society of Minnesota, I assume they're able to make donations or maybe volunteer, that type of thing.
We rely on the generosity of our community for our ongoing existence. So absolutely, our website is ausm.org, and we'd love to have people check us out and see what we have going on. We also have our 19th annual Autism Conference coming up from April 30th to May 2nd. And Garrison Keeler is going to be our opening keynote speaker, talking about being a parent of a child with a disability. And we're going to have 4 days of just really great programs and educational experiences good for the whole family.
Great. And again, if people are interested, just go to
ausm.org.
I know you guys say awesome, but
That's
it's spelled
right.
AUSM for anybody who's interested. And Jonah, thank you so much, and hopefully we can chat again with you in the future.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's time for a short break. We'll be right back with more of our special Autism Awareness edition of Northeast Journal.
Look at me. Hey.
Raymond, look at Mommy.
Maybe the light hurts his eyes.
Maybe she's just not hungry.
Maybe he can't hear us.
Maybe we're not stimulating him enough. Maybe it's a phase.
Avoiding eye contact is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
Welcome back to our special Autism Awareness edition of Northeast Journal. A group of dedicated parents and students have been performing a play across schools and conferences in the Twin Cities to promote inclusion in classrooms for kids of all abilities. Here's a look at It's Our School Too.
Please welcome the students of the White Bear Lake School District to present It's Our School Too.
Just one day after performing to a packed house at Central Middle School, a group of White Bear Lake students did the same for thousands of educators at the Minneapolis Convention Center.
I will support and stand up for individuals with intellectual disabilities.
Sophomore Charlie Wagner explains why they were there.
We're doing a performance called It's Our School Too, and what it is we're a group of students with both intellectual disabilities and without, and we're putting this performance together to kind of show how we feel about the issues that children with intellectual disabilities go through, and trying to make our voice for how we feel about it.
The group is called PALS, which stands for the Peer and Leadership Society. They're a group of students in the White Bear Lake Area School District that strive to make school a place for students of all abilities. The group was asked to perform the play It's Our School Too for the National Conference of the Association for Middle Level Education, which was held in November at the Minneapolis Convention Center.
I thought the whole point of getting education was to learn, not to struggle to learn.
Leslie Cellini created the PALS group and tells us more about the play.
There's different scenes in the play. A lot of it is about inclusive education, the importance of inclusive education, and acceptance for all individuals with intellectual disabilities. It educates teachers on the importance of including kids in the general ed classrooms, along with having them graduate with their peers.
Leslie's son Sean is one of the members of PALS and offers his thoughts on performing in the play.
Oh, it's so awesome, and everybody watches it. It's been fun, and yeah.
A central theme of the play is how the R word can hurt those with an intellectual disability.
It's made to stop the R word and bullies who say it. That's all I think of, the audience will think of.
It's such an important thing, and you don't realize how important it is, but seeing the kids with special needs, when somebody says that word, they get teary-eyed, and that just hurts. It's so sad.
They just asked me to come on in and do it, and I was happy to. I was happy for the opportunity.
Anna Hickey directed the play and was impressed with the students, with many of them having never acted before.
I'm so proud, of course, but there's a few kids who struggle with lines, and yesterday for the first time all of them just got them, and I think there was a few times I did the heart clutch, oh my gosh, they did it, these perfect children, they did it. Yeah, I'm so proud because they really have come a very long way, and they're taking it very seriously, and there's not really much more I could ask for.
The performance for those in attendance at the conference in Minneapolis was met with a standing ovation. The educators there were given the opportunity to take a pledge to never use the R word. The Peer and Leadership Society hopes to perform It's Our School Too at other schools in the area. We hope you've been enjoying this Autism Awareness episode of Northeast Journal. One reason I'm so passionate about this topic is because my son Josiah has autism. He was diagnosed at the age of 2 and is now a busy 8-year-old. Producer Nick Anderson did a profile on my family and a T-ball league for kids with special needs that Josiah participates in. Let's take a look at that story. We're here at Lincoln Elementary in White Bear Lake getting ready to play some T-ball.
We had a request from a parent 4 years ago. This is our 4th season. And just something for her son to do during the summer. And it came to us to form a T-ball league. And it's been just fun ever since.
Families just have such a blast watching the kids, and I think the kids, get a lot out of it. They, obviously you can see they're having fun out there, and I think they get a lot of self-confidence, and it's just a great, area for them to learn how to perform without, people getting down on them or expecting too much out of them, because this way they get to, real ball. Just try to do everything, learn everything about T-ball and have a great time. It's just fun. Everybody gets a chance. I think that's what's great.
One of the things with autism in particular is there's a social element to it that they might have difficulty interacting socially, and to have opportunities where kids are able to get out with other kids and really be able to interact with them and interact with other volunteers and adults. Whenever we can do that, I think that it's really pushing him to step out of his comfort zone. He's getting used to more people and more surroundings. So that's been a wonderful thing. And actually, I think, especially for my husband, as father and son, to do something as American as baseball together, that every father and son love to have, love to share. I really love that they get to do that together.
Each week you can just kind of see the growth, and some of the kids seemed a little nervous or scared the first week, and now they're just out there having a blast, and so it's a lot of fun. I think the parents are having just as much fun. They get to sit and watch their kids and cheer them on, and you often see grandparents and neighbors, and kind of get a nice little crowd out here just to have some fun.
I think that people should come out because it's just really fun to see the smiles on the kids' faces and just watching them run the bases, and they're so proud of themselves, and we're all proud of them, and it is fun. It's a fun summer thing to do.
Cool. What it's meant for our family especially is, our son has autism, and some people don't even exactly know what that means, but he just has some difficulties with some different sensory issues. He doesn't have a lot of speech, and he's really pretty gifted physically, very active child. But sometimes for kids with autism or some of the other disorders here, it can be, tough to follow directions and things like that. But here, everyone's just so patient and wants everyone to succeed that it's not a big deal if it takes somebody a little while to run down to first base. Nobody's holding anybody else up. So, I think that's what's really neat. And I know we're just extremely thankful for an organization like Kids Abilities to offer something like this. I never knew it existed until last year, and we've been so excited to have our first summer of playing t-ball, and I hope we can do it for many years to come.
1, 2, 3, strikes you're out at the old ball game.
That wraps up our special Autism Awareness edition of Northeast Journal. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back next month with another brand new Northeast Journal.